Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Woo-hoo. Welcome
Let's go.
back, traders. How are we
I wake
doing,
up to a
guys?
little
God
bit of
bless
drool
each and
on my
every single
pillow,
one of you
feel
guys.
like
Hope you're having a
Superman.
fantastic freaking Saturday so far. We're going to be covering stock ticker NIO, baby, as well as the broader market. But I want to start on the macro chart, and then we're going to trickle in to the three different things and the different prices that I'm going to be watching starting next week on Monday. So if you guys are enjoying the passion, right, hit the like button, slap the subscribe button. If you guys are new, stay around until the end of the video, right? Or do that anyway. But we're going to start on the macro chart here because there is a lot to talk about. If you're new, right, just a little thesis buster or a little thesis update for you guys. We are watching this very similar setup happen on this bottoming formation for Niostock, where you have a technical formation called an inverted head and shoulders. You had it here where you had shoulder, head, right, shoulder breakout, and then this one's a very, very clear and evident shoulder, head, right, shoulder with the volume profile being the only thing that's different here, and something that I'm watching very closely as you see the date or the quarterly MACD. So this is a very large time frame that we're working on, traders. Quarterly MACD is looking to cross to the upside for the first time since 2020 of June, right? And we all know 2020, 2021 was a crazy time in the financial markets. Well, what we're watching is a lot of similarities kind of replay here. And if you see this quarterly time frame volume exhausted trend break, traders, this thing could be either going up very, very fast or it's going to go down very, very fast. But one thing for sure is we should see some kind of finale to this thesis relatively soon. And I'm hoping that it's by the end of this quarter, right? Because the next quarter opens up, I believe, at August 1st. So if we see this thing break anytime between June, July, right, there's a very unique opportunity here that in the next 90 days, you should expect some volatility to occur on Niostock. Jumping into what I believe to be happening on the stock. We're on the 4-hour chart here for Niostock, and I just want you guys to take a little peeky weeky at the formation or this channel that you've been in ever since $7. You saw that stark rejection, a fake out breakout, a retest, and then you've been slammed down once again. You've made that gap fill recently, and then even when you were cruising down, everyone was kind of moaning and groaning, saying, "Oh, Niostock, it's over, it's over." That's exactly how you should expect the stock to behave right before it's about to see some crazy volatility, right? So I'm not surprised that you saw this 8% 4-hour candle, which is huge. And you have a very similar technical setup to the macro, right? A shoulder, head, right shoulder on this chart. And the technical neckline takes you up to another neckline, right? So when you're looking at horizontal resistance, this is going to be a key point to watch for next week, that 658 location, because that's where you saw this initial rejection, and you have multiple rejections along this horizontal plane at 658. So I expect that to be stubborn resistance if you break out early next week, which I do believe is possible. But what three scenarios or what three indicators are we specifically watching for breakout here? Anyone know? JCKCPA, the freaking man, the myth, the legend. In case you guys are wondering, right, we're watching the daily RSI, which you are curling up towards that daily RSI band right now. So if you see this thing open up green, it's likely that you see that thing cross on Monday. Now, typically when that happens, right, we see some pretty nice moves on Niostock, right? This was May 11th. And you saw this thing go from 583 all the way up to 661, right? So almost $1 swing just from crossing the RSI band. This is another example, right? You retested it. You saw a crazy down 5% candle, retested it, made another high at $7. This is another example where you got very, very volatile on the stock, and you crossed it, and you saw in a very short period, 10 days, 34%. So that's the kind of swings we're talking here on the short-term time frame. But we're watching for the daily RSI. What else are we watching for, right? We're watching for the daily MACD, baby. And you're starting to get that cross or that bottoming formation of the MACD where you're seeing a lot of the bearish red bars where my cursor is start to shrink. What that is that is bearish selling pressure leaving, right? That is bears running out of selling pressure, and the dip is becoming ripe. I guess you could just describe it as a ripe dip vegetable, right? So you're starting to see the daily MACD curl up and the bearish tension lessen, right? And you did get a pretty beautiful close on the week above the 200-day EMA, currently sitting at 555 traders. Where did you close? 560. We've talked about 560 pretty religiously on this channel. As you can see, as you zoom out, there is so many rejections at the 560 line. It is one of the most important horizontal resistances and supports. So the fact that you closed right on top of it, traders, is significantly bullish. Not only did you do that, but you also rejected the 9-day EMA, currently sitting at 563. So you're pinwheeled, right, between a 10-cent margin between the 9 and the 200. This will, in my opinion, right, not financial advice, break on Monday. You should expect to see the stock make a decision on whether or not it's going to break beneath the 200-day EMA, which will be very telling, traders, on what the next move is going to be, right? Is this thing going to go back, fill the gap, and potentially double bottom here, and then reverse out? Very possible. Or is this thing going to break the 9-day EMA and get that freaking breakout going? That's what we're hoping for going into Monday trading. But the one thing that I'm not entirely sold on yet, traders, is that third signal that we're watching for. It's volume, right? Even though you saw a nice pop in volume, up 9% on the daily candle, you really are looking for whether the bears or the bulls want to win here, because you've seen super high bearish volume and super high bullish volume. One or the other should come out victorious, right? Just like this. When you see the stock make its biggest moves is when you have these big boom boom candles on the volume profile of 150 million shares, right? That's the kind of definite candlestick formation we're watching for here. But regardless, right, even if you don't get the volume, the setup is there. It's just that is going to give you the follow through to either break out or break down here. And I expect the volatility to come in soon, because not only do you have an inverted head and shoulders, but your 9-day EMA and your 50 are right below you, traders. This is typically a really good sign on the 4-hour chart if you're looking to make swings, right? That you should, if you can hold these levels, have the 9 cross the 50 and raise you higher. When you look at times prior when this has happened, right, this is a great example. Even though it's very short-lived, you had the 9 cross through the 50, and that took you from about $6 all the way into $6.50. That's the kind of move that we're watching for on Monday if you want to break from this overall downtrend channel. Besides for that 650 area, there's going to be one more area of resistance. And if you guys can guess what that is, right? The first piece of resistance or resistance that you're going to see along this breakout is going to be this previous uptrend in price. You saw a very couple powerful moves off of this uptrend, and then you saw a breakdown, a retest, and a flush. That's very typical of when you lose a key uptrend, right? And when you swing back up here, expect it to be stubborn resistance, right? There's a very good opportunity here that this thing does not break it immediately, right? You might have to flag out before going higher. It's very possible, and I would not be surprised to see that at all, right? So even if this thing does not go exactly where you think it's going to go, right, don't be so fast to judge, say Niostock sucks. It does not, right? This thing is set up in a beautiful formation and a beautiful community behind it. So I believe in Niostock pretty strongly, to be honest with you. And I do believe the best is yet to come, but we need to see the follow through, right? Beyond that, we can cover on the daily time frame, just kind of giving you a technical update on what has happened. in the last couple of weeks, months, whatever it is, right? You did have a touch of hidden bullish divergence that we covered in the stock, where you saw the price make a higher low, but the stock RSI make a lower low. We called this out as being a potential bottoming signal on the stock, and that is kind of what you're getting so far. So I'm hoping to see this thing come to fruition, as you guessed it. IWM has done the same exact thing, right? We called out bullish divergence on these two lows, and this thing freaking flung to a new all-time high. Now, whether or not Neo is going to do that, right? I don't think it's going to go all the way in one fling, but IWM is huge for Niostock's overall trajectory. If this thing is dumping, it's going to be very hard for Niostock to overcome that, right? IWM is at an all-time high, and you're flagging out. You're bull flagging right now. This is bullish, right? I don't care who you are. This is bullish. Our thesis on this channel has forever been the fact that you're going to get to 300. But if this thing breaks out on Monday, traders, it's very possible that you see some kind of fundamental news happen, right? Strait of Hormuz open, Iran war over, Ukraine war over, something with inflation, right? If you break this to the upside, I expect some kind of fundamental news to push you higher. And I expect this thing to hit 300 to 314 sometime in the near future. If you break down, though, that is a very real scenario that would suck. And it would suck because you have a lot of different gaps technically below you, currently sitting at 265, 286, and this uptrend that you would that I would assume you would hit around 280. And then if you zoom out even further, traders, there's another uptrend on the macro chart that you've kind of revisited and then sprung off of that you would hit around 250 most likely. Now you would hit other things before that, right? 200-day EMA would be a potential buying opportunity, and that would be a freaking fuego one that I would be calling out and screaming about. But this thing does look primed to make another all-time high as long as you hold the previous high, right? That's really just what you've been doing, is basing. Every single time you base above the horizontal resistance, you've made a new all-time high. So I expect the same exact trend to keep on happening and to keep on adding is positive firepower for Niostock going into next week. Beyond that, traders, we can maybe cover the monthly chart on Neo, see if anything has changed. One thing that is pretty significant here on not just the price, right? And I know we got a lot of trend lines on that freaking chart. But if you look at where you are today on the monthly RSI, traders, look at the last time you crossed this band to the upside, right? That marked your bottom. You saw a 3 white soldiers formation, 41, 31, and 19% candles to the upside. We were screaming, literally. I mean, so many different people heard me scream from the top of my lungs. Look at this thing retesting the monthly RSI band. That is bullish. You're making a higher low as well as touching this freaking uptrend, right? You're now doing the exact same thing. You're going back for a retest of this monthly RSI band as you touched this monthly uptrend. It's almost like the stock wants you to buy it. Not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but these kind of opportunities are so clear and obvious, right? And for some people to be bearish right now is hilarious. But until you break this trend line, right? Breaking this trend line would be bearish, but you've still remained above it. You've still remained above the RSI band. And if you find a bounce here, traders, I expect some freaking boom, boom candles. I expect something nasty, right? Just zooming out here, our technical profit target from this inverted head and shoulders is theoretically 20 schmeckles, right? So do or talk about what you want from that analysis, but that is just what the charts are telling me. I think that's all I got on Niostock though, traders. So short and sweet. I wanted to just give you guys a technical update, what I'm expecting going into next week. God bless you and your families. And remember, traders, the best is yet to come. I love you all, and peace.